Today's Terrific Talk podcast is brought to you by Audible. Audible has an unmatched selection of audiobooks, original audio shows, news, comedy, and more. Today, get a free audiobook with a 30-day trial. Just go to audible.com/terrifictalk. Again, for a free audiobook with a 30-day trial, go to audible.com/terrifictalk. Got a great episode here for you of Terrific Talk today. Phenomenal guest from the AP, Tim Reynolds. We get into a lot, the solar eclipse, if LeBron is leaving or not. Talk all about his career, how he got to the AP. Great show. Hope you enjoy it. Let's get it going. Terrific Talk starts right now. Welcome to Terrific Talk. I'm Tom Anderson. Beautiful sunny day here from the Hoboken Studios in New Jersey. Thanks for checking the podcast out, whether you're listening off iTunes or on the free CLNS radio app. It's great to be with you. I've got a fantastic guest today. Tim Reynolds is a great NBA writer for the Associated Press. He's been with the AP since 2002, primarily covering the Miami Heat. He's covered the last couple of Olympics for the AP. He's a great follow. Let me bring him in here. Tim Reynolds, welcome to Terrific Talk.
Tom, we survived the eclipse. This is very exciting.
I saw on Twitter today that you took a shot at the Knicks, which I thought was really funny. You said that total eclipses are more common than Knicks championships. What was your eclipse experience like today?
Here in Miami, it definitely got cloudy. It definitely got like a unique shade pattern, and it cooled down from like 95 to like 85, which is lovely this time of year. To be completely honest, I was just excited that C-SPAN ran the NASA feed, and I was just sitting there. I was sitting there in the living room, just absolutely just absorbed by the NASA guy, totally excited about it.
It was good. I went outside. I was in New York City today, and we got about 70% of the sun was covered, and I had the glasses on. There were like thousands of people outside. It was cool to witness, but I've got the biggest headache in the world right now. Not good.
Not good. Hope we didn't look directly at it.
I didn't look directly at it, but
certain people in Washington were captured on film doing that. You can't have that.
Amazing picture. So anyway, the reason I wanted to have you on today is because I wanted to kind of hear your story, how you got to where you've gotten. So we can start at the beginning. Where'd you grow up? Where'd your love of sports come from?
Okay, well, I grew up near Lake Placid, a little town called Indian Lake. It's a town of about 900 people year-round. We say 900 in the winter and 9,000 in the summer. We're kind of a tourist destination. As the name might suggest, we have a 16-mile-long lake in town, so we're on the outskirts of town anyway. My first job doing this was I started 2 days after my 18th birthday at a little paper in Glen Falls, New York, called the Post-Star. They hired me. It was 9 hours a week, $6 an hour to type up like bowling scores and stuff like that. And within a couple of months, I was kind of like on their staff. There was just a great group of people there at that time. I got really lucky. I learned a lot real fast. Great editor, great staff, great people. When you're starting out, and this was totally by accident, really. Stayed there 3 years, bounced around a couple other papers in New York, ended up in Albany from 96 to 2001. My wife, we were not married yet. We were dating. He got a job in Miami in 2000. I came down here in 2001, and the rest is kind of history. Here we still are.
When did you decide kind of that you wanted to be a writer? What did you like about it?
Well, I mean, I've always been. I mean, I was in school really from like 7 a.m. till 10 p.m. most of the time when I was in junior high and high school, and it's all one building. It's all one K through 12 building. It's not one room. It's not that bad, but it's one building.
Yeah.
I was just always around everything. I lived in the gym. Anytime I could get shots up, my first love is basketball. Anytime I could get shots up, I was doing that. But like, whether it was a boys' game and I was on most of the teams because again, the school was real small. Girls' game didn't matter. I was at it, and I just always had a love of it. But I think it kind of goes back to I don't remember the 1980 Olympics. even though we were like 65 miles away, I don't have a memory necessarily of those games going on because I was 6.
Yeah.
But I do remember the torch run coming through our town a couple of weeks before the games. 5:30 at night, dark outside, obviously it's winter up there. I remember people, like, anything you could find to bang to make noise. Bells. I think I had like a plate and like a wooden spoon, like anything that you could like bang as this parade went by, and that was such a big deal. And I think that's where I got my love of the Olympics, and largely my love of sport. Like anytime I'm up in the Albany area, even if my mom is still up there, I have a lot of friends up there, I have to go to Lake Placid every time and just sit in the arena. It's usually empty. I just sit in the arena and I just stare at the ice for a while. And I know it sounds hokey, but I'm very drawn to the Miracle on Ice. And I think in a lot of ways, the stories that as you get older, as I got 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and I realized what that game meant, I think that's what gave me the love of sport, and I really love the stories around it, and I think it's what gave me the love of storytelling. So really with me, it was all right place, right time, really.
I love the Olympics. I always watch the Olympics all the time on TV, but I've never been there. Can you kind of describe just what the Olympic experience is like?
First of all, winter and summer is so different. It largely depends on the city. Beijing, for example, is a sprawling metropolis. Torino, for example, when the Winter Games were in turn in 2006, relatively close area. I mean, the stuff in the mountains is a little bit far away, but the personality of any Olympics takes on the personality of the city that's hosting. First of all, it is super friendly. I have found I've never seen a real adversarial thing at an Olympics. It is supposed to be about peaceful sport, about bringing people together through sport. I've seen Americans cheering for Russians in Sochi. I've seen Russians cheering for Americans in Salt Lake City. You notice those things, and you really grow to appreciate that there's still some kind of dignity to sport. Let's not over-romanticize it. We all know that there's whole-scale problems with the Olympics, whether it's scandal, whether it's doping.
Sure.
They're too big, whatever it is. It breaks my heart to see we're a year out from Rio. We're a year out. And that city it's like the Olympics never happened there. And that breaks my heart to see that. The stories, Tom, I think more than anything else, the stories of these people. I cover at the Winter Games, and I'll be doing this again in Korea in a few months. I cover bobsled, skeleton, and luge. I'm familiar with them from Lake Placid, but partly because I just love those stories. I love the stories nobody knows who those people are, but those people have a lot of really good stories to tell.
What do you expect to see in Korea at those Olympics? That's going to be pretty interesting.
I think they're going to be meticulous. I think the facilities will be beautiful. Things will be done before we get there. Usually everyone's always like rushing to get stuff done, and that's not just the case in Russia or wherever. That's been the case in a lot of places. I think it's going to be a technologically unreal Olympics. Hearing some of the rumors of what they're going to be able to do for a wireless network, transportation, and things like that intrigues me. It's 300 miles from North Korea.
Yeah.
So there's that element that is obviously going to be at the forefront of everybody's mind, including mine, including my wife. She is not a big fan of me going for that reason alone.
Yeah.
I think the ratings here in the States will be good. I think Americans are still drawn to the Olympics. I think LA getting 2028 is going to rekindle the love affair that Americans have with the Olympics, and it's time. It's needed. We need that spark again. But I think Korea will absolutely, we know this. Korea and then Japan again in 2020 when we go there for the summer, they will absolutely put best foot forward. And they will make sure that everyone who is there has a reason to say, I want to come back to this place. They want us to return after these games so you know it's going to be well run, very well organized.
You mentioned you moved down to Miami there in 2001. How exactly did you get your job there at the AP? Did you apply? What was the interview process like?
Well, full disclosure, I had some interviews lined up. We got married 4 days before 9/11.
Wow.
And we were on our honeymoon during it. And we were up in Northern California, ended up driving across the country back home. Planes weren't flying, the trains got full. And so by the time I got back, I knew I didn't want to take a break. I wanted to jump right back into work. But a lot of the interviews, meetings, whatever that I had lined up at that time with papers down here, whatever, they just sort of never happened. Everything was kind of like on hold.
Yeah.
And I just sent out applications to anyone and everyone I could find. And the AP reached out to me because I was available during the day. And at the time, they had a need for news stringers. Not sports, but news. So they would send me to things. Like I remember they sent me to Miami Airport, they said, to cover the arrival of the President of the United States.
Wow.
And I'm like, why are you sending me to cover the President of the United States? They said, well, you're not really covering him. You're going to be the guy that tells us that the plane landed and the plane took off. Literally. So I didn't screw that up. So they actually ended up hiring me for a news job. And that lasted for probably 18 months or so. I can't really remember. Maybe up to 2 years. But around that time, I was able to do some sports because Miami had a WNBA team, and I was able to, get involved with that a little bit. But around that time, the Heat drafted the kid from Marquette named Dwayne Wade.
Boom.
And they needed someone to cover the NBA. So really, my first night kind of on the Heat beat was the night they drafted Dwayne. I misspelled his name that night on the wire. And have sort of been with them ever since. They got Shaquille next year. They won the title in 06, and the Heat became a very big story. And I say it again, right place, right time. They weren't going to let me do sports. And then I think they realized he's probably better at sports than he is at news because he's not very good at news. So it was, I was very fortunate that the AP took a chance on me, believe.
Quick break to talk about Audible. Audible content, it includes an unmatched selection of audiobooks, original audio shows, news, comedy, and more from the leading audiobook publishers, broadcasters, entertainers, magazine and newspaper publishers, and business information providers out there. It's the summertime. I've been reading right now more than I've maybe ever read in my entire life. I told you last week I finished up Truman. Amazing book by David McCullough, over 1,000 pages long. Now I'm on No Ordinary Life. We're going back in time. I'm looking at FDR and Eleanor Roosevelt and the home front during World War II. Highly recommend this book. Check it out on Audible. I've got a special offer for you today. Get a free audiobook with a 30-day trial at audible.com/terrifictalk. Again, free audiobook with a 30-day trial. Go to audible.com/terrifictalk and get reading. I mean, now's as good a time as any. Now, back to the AP's Tim Reynolds. Two quick NBA questions. You mentioned the Heat. What team do you think will be the biggest surprise team this season? The Heat, definitely one of those teams last year.
If there is a team I think that could surprise people, I would say Washington. They've got some interesting contracts going on now, and I'm curious to see what the dynamic is now that Otto Porter, Brad Beal, and John Wall are all set for many, many lifetimes. I'll be curious to see how that all works. But there won't really be a surprise in the West unless Golden State has serious injury issues. I mean, there's good teams out there, obviously, but right now, as constructed, nobody's close to them. That's how good they are, obviously. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
I don't think people will be that surprised if Cleveland doesn't get there again. I think you're already seeing that it's going to be a very drama-filled year for Cleveland with the whole LeBron, will he or won't he stuff. What's going to happen with KYRIE in the coming days and weeks and months. I think a team is going to emerge I'm not so sure it's Boston. I think it's going to be a team like Washington. They have a great coach and they have good guards, and that's kind of the basic formula right now. Where that's the prerequisite if you're gonna take that leap in the NBA. So if there is a surprise, I should have said I don't know if there is a surprise, but if there is one, keep an eye on them.
All right, we'll look out for Boston. You mentioned LeBron and his future. It's all speculation right now. No one knows what he's going to do. There's a lot of moving parts, but you got to cover LeBron for a bunch of years there up close in Miami. Gut feeling, do you think he leaves? What do you think?
I think he leaves. I mean, he promised Cleveland a championship, and he's done that. And I think there's still a lot on his to-do list. I don't think it's predetermined necessarily. My guess is that he goes. We're seeing LeBron continue to evolve, both as a player but also as a corporation. And Los Angeles, I mean, we all know why. It makes so much sense because he is heavily involved in entertainment. He does have, his studio projects. He has, the uninterrupted platform. The things he's doing with stars. You hear about he wants to get involved in film. He's dabbled in acting, and that didn't seem to hurt him too badly. It wasn't a great movie, obviously, but it didn't hurt his reputation at all. He is, I can say this from the 4 years, I don't pretend to know these guys.
Yeah.
Let's be real clear. I don't hang with them. I covered him for 4 years. I covered Dwayne for 13. I don't pretend to really know Dwayne. I will say this. LeBron is, for a kid who, single parent, poverty, no college education, and I don't know what the extent of the education he got in high school was because basketball was obviously so dominant in his life at that time. You would not expect him to be as smart as he is. It's not an act. He's well-read. He's well-spoken. He knows what's going on in the world. He's incredibly aware. You see him using his political voice now more and more, really kind of going back to the Trayvon Martin incident here in Florida a few years ago. He spoke out during the election. He's still speaking out on his views on the administration. You're not seeing this guy shelter himself. You're seeing him continue to take on more and more and more and more and more, and that's really why I think he's going to look for the next challenge. He could stay in Cleveland and be comfortable forever. I don't think LeBron likes comfort that much. I think LeBron likes challenge. I think LeBron likes doing something that you don't think he can do and proving you wrong, because really, he doesn't need much else than that. He's got more money than he could ever possibly spend. He needs that challenge, and he runs on competition. He's very much like Jordan in that regard. Everything to LeBron is competition. He's conquered the basketball world. Is Hollywood next? If I was a betting man, which I'm not, but if I was, I'd say he is going to go to LA.
Interesting. It'll be amazing to see. Great perspective there. Tim, thank you so much. This was great. Everybody check out Tim's great work at the AP. Follow him on Twitter. His handle is @byTimReynolds. Tim, thanks again. You were great. Hey, if you want to listen to it, Audible has it. With an unmatched selection of audiobooks, original audio shows, news, comedy, and more, you'll find what you're looking for. Today, get a free audiobook with a 30-day trial by signing up at audible.com/terrifictalk. You get a free audiobook with a 30-day trial. Just go to audible.com/terrifictalk. We'll see you next week.